In this lecture, we would like to discuss one of the most important topic relating to the minorities communities in India, the Muslim communities, and that is the Waqf Amendment Bill of 2025, which was passed in Parliament first in the Lok Sabha in majority. Then, after a hot debate of 12 hours, long debate in the parliament, in the upper house of the Indian parliament, and that is the Rajya Sabha, on 3rd April of 2025 with majority of 128 MPs of the Council of States Rajya Sabha, they approved the amendment bill of 2025. Now it would be an act after the assent of the President of India. So exactly what properties means those properties for the welfare of the community, be it for education, healthcare, or for religious purposes. So, as per the Work Validating Act, it consists all types of properties, whether movable or immovable, vested in the ownership of God for the benefit of the mankind. So the Work Validating Act 1913 under Section 2 defines a work thus means the permanent dedication by a person professing the Muslim faith for any property, for any purposes, recognized by Muslim law as religious, pious, and charitable and spiritual for the welfare of the community. And the property consists all types of property, either movable or immovable. And once the property of a work, it is vested in the ownership of the God and for the benefit of the mankind. So this is the definition given under Work Act 1913, and it must be permanent and it must be revocable. And the Work Act 1954 also defines it as the work as a permanent dedication by a person professing Islam for the benefit of the mankind. It may be pious or religious purpose or for charitable purpose. And the Work Act of 1995, which created Central Work Council, which would control and directs all state work boards in respective states, and also it proposed for the creation of work tribunals. So now we would like to discuss exactly the provisions inserted under the Work Amendment Act of 2013, which particularly aimed at strengthening those work tribunals. So that was made in the year 2013 amendment to the Work Act, which would strengthen those tribunals which were constituted under the Work Act 1995 through the 2013 amendment to the Work Act. So now you discuss in detail Work Amendment Bill 2025, and in particularly it made provisions for proper management and governance of all work properties. So as the provisions of the bills that we would like to discuss, work properties are meant for the welfare of the community, be it for education, healthcare, or for pious or religious purposes. However, cases of land grabbing, fraudulent claims, and use by politically connected Muslims, individuals have raised concern among the common poor Muslims, particularly women. Instead of serving the poor, these properties have often used for private benefits. Though amendments in work had been done a number of times, as exactly in the Work Act of 1995 and the Work Amendment Act 2013, but they had failed to address the very concern of common Muslims. So the new Work Amendment 2025 or 2025 will seeks to ensure that work properties protected and used as intended. So the new bill is significant legislative step aimed at addressing the long-standing issues of mismanagement, corruption, and encroachment in work properties. The proposed amendment focuses on enhancing transparency, ensuring legal ownership, and establishing a robust mechanism for accountability and governance within the work boards. One of the primary concerns in work property management has been the lack of proper identification and digitization, so the bill facilitates the effective implementation of Section 54 and Section 55, which deal with the prevention of encroachment to ensure the protection of work properties. It mandates the identification and digitization of all such assets along with expeditious disposal of litigations related to dispute properties. This digital record keeping will curb unauthorized claims and fraudulent transactions, ensuring that work assets are used for their intended purpose, and that is the charitable and religious purposes. The existing definition of work as revised in the Work Amendment Act 2013 allowed any person to dedicate property as work, leading to numerous fraudulent claims. The amendment of the 2025 restored the pre 2013 position by requiring that only a person of Islamic faith who is the legal owner of the property can dedicate it as work, with an addition that he must have been practicing Islam for at least 5 years. This measure will prevent dubious dedications and ensure that only genuine religious endowments are recognized. Ownership verification is a critical aspect of the reforms. The proposed section 3C 3A mandates that no person can create a work unless they are the lawful owner of the property. This provision will eliminate cases where properties were falsely claimed as work despite the original owner lacking legal title. Another key reform is the removal of the work by user provision which previously allowed properties to be designated as work based on the long term usages. This provision had led to several cases where properties, including government owned assets, were wrongly classified as work. Under the amendment, only properties with a formal work deed will be recognized as work, preventing unauthorized claims. However, existing registered work properties under work by user will be protected unless they are in dispute or government owned, striking a balance between community interest and public rights to prevent wrongful appropriation of properties by work boards. The bill explicitly states that trust established by Muslims for the purposes similar to work but regulated under other statutory provisions will not be treated as work properties. The classification will prevent undue interference by work boards in the administration of independent Muslim charitable trusts. The bill also addresses administrative inefficiencies within work boards. A major issue has been the failure to digitize records. The amendment of 2025 mandates that all work properties be registered online within 6 months, ensuring greater transparency and ease of access. Another pressing concern had been the wrongful declaration of government properties as work, as in the cases of 123 work properties in Delhi and the disputes involving the Surat Municipality Corporation. To counter this, Section 3C of the bill provides that government property previously or currently declared as work shall not be considered work unless verified by a designated officer. This officer appointed by the state government will conduct an inquiry and ensure that government assets be protected. The 2025 Work Amendment Bill also proposes transferring the responsibility of pending work service to the jurisdiction of the collectors of the districts who will follow state revenue laws to complete the process. This reform will ensure that work property survey are conducted more efficiently and without bias. State Work boards have been criticized for their lack of accountability, misuse of power, and collusion with external parties. To address these issues, the mandates issued under the bill that state work boards hold monthly meetings, ensuring regular oversight and decision making. Additionally, any application for work registration will be forwarded to the collector for verification, ensuring fairness in the process and preventing arbitrary decisions. Why the state work boards? Further, the bill rationalizes the exclusive power of the work boards to declare any property as work by omitting Section 40, which previously allowed such declarations without thorough scrutiny. To enhance the integrity of work management, new provisions introduce stricter disqualification and that disqualification criteria for mutualis, those who are custodians of work properties involved in malpractices, provide better legal recourse for stakeholders. The bill also includes an appellate mechanism under Section 83, subsection 9, under ensuring that tribunal decisions can be challenged, thereby strengthening judicial remedies. Moreover, the applicability of the Limitation Act to the work amending bill under the Work Amendment Bill of 2025, the applicability of the Limitation Act to work disputes will prevent indefinite litigation and timely resolution of conflicts. Finally, the bill proposes the removal of Section 108A, which previously granted overriding authority over other laws. This ensures a more uniform and legally sound approach to work governance. Overall, the Work Amendment Bill of 2025 introduced much needed reforms to curb corruption, prevent unauthorized claims, and ensure efficient management of work properties by emphasizing transparency, legal ownership verification, and administrative accountability. The bill seeks to restore the credibility of work boards while protecting the interest both the Muslim communities and the larger public. So, the Work Amendment Bill 2025, which is recently passed by both the houses of Indian Parliament by majority, first in the Lok Sabha, the House of People, on 1st April 2025 and on 3rd and 4th April 2025 in the our house, that is the Council of States or Rajya Sabha. The bill ultimately, as passed by the Parliament of India, now the Work Amendment Bill of 2025 is in its way to become an act of Indian Parliament after receiving the assent of the President of India. So the very act of the Waqf Amendment Bill of 2025 definitely a major step which would strengthen the tribunal system, the work tribunals, and it will ensure proper management, transparency, and governance of work properties which are under the control of state work boards, and ultimately those state work boards are being supervised and regulated by the Central Work Council.